Our third speaker of this session is our own Dr. Amani Salim. Amani is the Chief Scientist and Technologist and co-founder of NanoSkunkWorks X Sdn Bhd, a Malaysian startup focused on radical innovation in healthcare diagnostics, biosensors, energy storage, and advanced materials through high-scale, low-cost, and novel nanotechnology design processes. Amani is a multidisciplinary engineer and researcher, project manager, and educator with a background in nanotechnology, biomedical, electrical, and materials engineering. She has proven delivery and execution experience in time-sensitive, mission-critical projects, having worked on projects under domain-leading organizations such as NASA, EPA, and the NIH. Amani is also passionate and an engaging public speaker for youth and STEM engagements, addressing varied audiences such as students, corporate, and government bodies. Let us welcome Dr. Amani Salim.
Thank you very much, Jeff, for the kind introduction. I want to thank the organizers for Khazanah group for basically inviting me here. I humbly appreciate it for giving the opportunity to share basically most of our experience on the ground. Okay, I thank Sean and Alison also for giving the opening of the trends that's happening in the world, and I'm sharing a piece of what's happening on the ground, and one of them is regarding the innovation that's done with our small group in Malaysia under the company called NanoSkunkWorks Sdn Bhd. If Sean and Alison all know, this is I will talk a bit. This company is inspired by Skunkworks, the Lockheed Martin organization, coming from 18 years from the United States. This mission-oriented group and the way they work actually inspired the way that we run the company and also the mission I have for Malaysia. Before I go to that, just to give you a little bit of background, I come from a background of academic background. So basically, before I opened this startup company called NanoSkunkWorks Sdn Bhd, is that I was a lecturer at International Islamic University Malaysia, not a research university institution, a comprehensive university, and where we experience a lot of things which I would like to share. Okay. One of them is about the transition that we have working from home, as we all know. Is that before, especially in Malaysia, we like to have meetings and so forth, and all the makan-makan, eating, at the meeting and so forth. And then suddenly we found out that a lot of jobs can happen even remotely. And even myself, when I was a lecturer, I found my productivity increase when I was having the choice of doing work from home. So there's some of the trends that we saw, and there's debates about that, and I think that institutions should look into that further. But more interestingly is actually the stakeholders, the students. This is a time where I get to teach students online when I was an academic, and sometimes I ask them to turn on the cameras, and then you see, especially the state of your students. Some were calling from somewhere at the kampong, at the village, and the internet connection is not ready. And I think this is in line with the narrative that Khazanah is trying to tell, is that, this pandemic hits people of various lives in different ways. And I think realizing that is very important to my mission and to our mission for the country, is that this inequality that maybe we think that the world has changed, but actually maybe the world is already burning on fire. Okay, and it's just that pandemic has revealed what's true of the world, especially to our country, Malaysia. And during that time also, we live in this time, I think, when I was starting and when I was in academia still, during that time when we heard the outbreak from Wuhan and so forth, is that the world starts to learn, even governments, private sectors and so forth, started to learn how to cope with COVID-19. And this is in 2020, of course, data. We always, wake up with these numbers, right? The statistics and so forth. We've never bother to pay attention, but we did. That's what the pandemic did to us. Everybody was on Twitter. Quickly, I was part of also this task force that we put together, including some ministry in the government also, actually to find a way of what can we do, to help in this hard situation that the country and also globally are facing. So you can see all this news and so forth coming up, and especially right before the Sabah election even, during that time, our company and our small team, especially myself also and a few of our friends in academia, was looking into how do us small people contribute towards helping the country in solving the issues of facing the country in terms of pandemic. Especially most of us are technologists, scientists, researchers. We were trained in the United States, United Kingdom, Australia, all around the world, paid by the people of Malaysia to actually, we come back to Malaysia. I came back in 2014. If we have all this expertise from NASA and so forth, what can we do to basically bring back and contribute to Malaysia and also to humanity as a whole? And of course, vaccines, as we know, is no silver bullets. And we all see that it's even not now when we start thinking it's going to endemic. But even before that, there's this is Dr. Tom Frieden, we were following closely his tweets and so forth, was that, a vaccine won't take COVID off the table. Even now, we see that we basically have to manage, living with COVID-19 for maybe many years to come, okay? So how do we as a country, Malaysia, shape our narrative in going forward from here? So the way I look at it is that this pandemic actually drives a purpose, a mission. Okay, so I read Prof. Mazzucato book also about mission economy and so forth. I think she's going to give a talk today in Khazanah. But one of the things I found was that at the opening of the book is talking about this mission critical oriented leadership. Okay, so if this is a quote from John F. Kennedy, not because I was a US graduate and was there 18 years, but I think we can learn something from mission critical leadership. It's basically because of since the Cold War and into the Apollo moonshot program, is that what I see is that because of the strong leadership of that time to basically galvanize the people and push the people to basically orient towards a mission. And because of there's a spillover effect that actually affects other sectors, not just the space program, but also other industries and so forth, right? So looking into this model, my question to me as the whole country and in Malaysia, for example, what if we live in a place where we are looking for a mission oriented leadership, and what if we don't have that, or we do, or we lack of that, or we're still searching for it? But what we can do as a small person, okay, as people of Malaysia, is that we start with looking at the huge problem, and if there's a breakthrough technology, and then provide a radical solution. And combining this intersection of these three is that what we call creating the moonshot. So small people with ambitious missions. See, Dr. Mazzucato talks about state, empowerment of state and so forth. I'm talking about empowerment of small people, the people. The people with a moonshot mission. The people with the desire to help the country and bring the expertise together to solve huge, big problems. Do we have talents? We have the question of retaining talents just now and having the best talents. Maybe we do, right? There's people, or else we don't have companies created by people of Malaysia over here, from people who, locally, graduated locally and overseas to come back and put together a company to basically have, this moonshot mission. So our companies start with this mindset, bringing the huge problem, breakthrough tech, and radical solution. If it's not a huge problem, there will not be, to bring breakthrough technology and radical solution will be a little bit more challenging. But COVID-19, the pandemic, actually drives this mission. So therefore, I left the university 4 months ago, And I said, and I questioned my purpose. Here's the thing. I found that to drive people to do things is to basically ensure that, what they do actually drives their purpose, their mission. So we, based on inspiration from the Lockheed Skunkworks model, we start up this company, a small startup. We only less than 20 people in the company right now. Small, we're located at University Malaya Incubator, and we call it Nano Skunkworks with an X, of course, at the end because of space, inspired by the SpaceX. What I found really great is that small team of engineers inside a stinky tent built the first American jet fighter in just 143 or 46 days. And this model has been carried out by Steve Jobs and Wozniak, where they built the Silicon Valley and brought in 20 brilliant engineers to do so, and the first Macintosh computer was built. And why can this be done? Is because it's a small autonomous team that we brought together and led by, again, as Alison said, it's about leadership, talented, focused leadership, okay? Attacking big problems, solving for big outcomes. With, of course, this one, okay, this is where the government can play a role, providing, especially at the beginning of product development and so forth, requires strong financial and resources support. And the last part I want to talk about is freedom from interference and bureaucracy that allows people to innovate and push things, the way at the way that they are best in doing the job, okay, without much interference, and then magic can happen. Based on this model of Skunkworks, when I was still at UIA during that time at the university, we developed this small team, starting with, of course, my group, and pulling in the expertise. And I said, look, I'm a sensor person. I develop sensors for NASA projects. Why can't we do the same for COVID-19? Looking at the issues of, under testing and so forth, challenges with RT-PCR, dependence on, again, supply chains of reagents and so forth. And I said, how do we create abundance? This is the mission that we have, is to create abundance in Malaysia and for all, especially starting with a big problem to solve, which is COVID-19. So thanks to also, actually, we were looking for funding. I think it was since last year, we're looking for funding, and alhamdulillah that we one small shop from the government, also under the Ministry of Finance, Kumpulan Model Perdana, actually recognizes us. And we went to a series of interview and said, I said, what, I don't have a prototype. I said, I have ideas, I have a mission, I have execution record but I don't have money to do things to help the country. And if only I have that small piece of the wealth the country can give, so that I can give back to the country and use my expertise to give back. Give us a chance, and they did. And using the Skunkworks model, just to show you what we have here, we received the funding in February this year, opened a small lab, which takes around a month and a half, thanks to University Malaya Incubator for have the place. And then within several months, less than 6 months, we developed the first prototype. Our goal is the new gold standard for COVID-19 diagnosis. Basically, with RT-PCR, gold standard accuracy, fast. So the current one gave results within 2 minutes. Affordable. We want to make it affordable for the Ministry of Health, especially, who's being very supportive of us. Especially, it's one of the ministries was very mission critical because they deal with life and death. We love collaborating and working with them. And this is why we do it, because we care about their work, and we want to help the frontliners to ease their work, and also for of course, the people of our country and also the world. And because of that, we have all of these, traits and characteristics of the reader, we call it nano rapid test kit, because it is driven by nanotechnology, making it really sensitive and also accurate in detecting the COVID-19 virus. So because of that, moving forward from what we have, so basically developing a prototype, and we just sent to Ministry of Health for clinical trials within several months. Because of this COVID-19, it has, what I want to say is that for everyone to remember is that because of the pandemic, it creates adversity to people, but also we as Malaysians, as people of the world, actually have to take this as take the pandemic adversity to create opportunities and abundance for this world. Why can that happen? Because it's urgent and important. We're not complacent. Urgency, just like JFK and the space race, they were racing against Russia, and even urgency is shown in the Skunk Works, because that time before they had the first jet fighter, the US had the propeller planes, and the Germans already have advanced technology in the aviation. So because of that urgency, it creates a high value use case. Technology are accelerated. And I think what Malaysia can learn from is that if there's a pandemic, we must create that urgency among leadership, among our scientists, among our experts, engineers, industries, NGOs, to have that urgency where we can come together to create a solution. And because of that, everything's accelerated. I think MOSTI also is doing on this. They help to accelerate regulatory reviews and so forth. And what they plan to go to, accelerated to go to market. And because of that, because of the COVID-19, as Sun Tzu said, opportunities multiply as they are seized. Because of this opportunity, we make the pandemic into an opportunity for our country. Starting, of course, our company looked at in vitro diagnostic or point of care. This, of course, created economic values, in healthcare, also can do in agriculture, environment, and also security and even defense. And I think it's high time for Malaysia to move forward from just being knowledge generation, paper publishing into universities, but also making impact in the real world by bringing what's in our local universities, research institutions, research agencies, to basically bring things into the market. The real deal is, I think, the model that we should follow, just to wrap up, is basically because we leveraging on the secret sauce. So basically we have knowledge generation. This is the technology I brought from my training in the US and development, also at the local universities, and using my own funding for the first few years of development. And because Malaysia ecosystem is suitable for the nanotechnology, I think that it can generate into a lot of high value outcomes, such as in energy storage, superconductivity at room temperature, frictionless material, low energy desalination, and of course, in terms of the light, flexible, and strong armor coatings and so forth. So basically, to look into why we managed to do this is to tell everybody is just that because I come to UIA, it's not a research university. Of course, using the ecosystem of Malaysia, the constraints that we have, and the strength that we have, to develop into something that we can leverage in, such as, our company did not open a new building or infrastructure, which we like to do in Malaysia. Every time is a new infrastructure, but instead leveraging on universities such as University Malaya with their incubator and so forth to do the company, so that both the universities, students, and so forth benefits. And I also thank to my training in NASA also, just to show this is when I was a project leader with NASA SporeSat, which I developed the sensors for the nanosatellite SporeSat, which also is used to create the first Malaysian moonshot factory, many other more factories in Malaysia. And just to wrap up, this model can happen if we basically do, this is the my last slide lah, right, is that if we put together the top R&D entrepreneurs, impact-driven management, using a startup approach and committed capital under one roof, one team, and one mission, to basically create a global high-skill problems and addressable huge problem using existing path in R&D portfolio of Malaysia. Thank you very much, and that's all from me.